Yes, we are safely ensconced in the inner sanctum. Producer Bill and I for the special edition of the Jim Reith Show Unleashed
Special report.
podcast. Yes. So the hot topic in Syracuse and Central New York is the zoo and the Friends of the Zoo, and the county seem to be having a disagreement. And so, as we do, we wanted to get both parties on this special show, and we will. And then on Monday, during our regular podcast, we'll have some more on this. But if you'd like to bring him up, Producer Bill, we, of course, have Onondaga County Executive Ryan McMahon. Ryan, thank you very much for your time on short notice. We appreciate this very, very much.
Well, thanks, Jim. Appreciate you having me on and able to clear the air.
So, from your perspective, which is the county's perspective, what's going on here between the Friends of the Zoo and the county?
Yeah, first off, I'd like to say that the partnership between the Friends of the Zoo and the zoo, it has been strong and will be strong. Like any partnership with any of our friends groups, you have memorandum of understanding is on how there's going to be operations. For many in the public, I think people don't realize that the actual zoo employees who take care of the animals, the head of the zoo, Dan Meats, and Brian Kelly, the parks commissioner, these are county employees paid for by county tax dollars. The majority of the capital, the super majority of the capital costs there are county tax dollars. And just like at the Friends of the Beaver Lake and the Friends of the Aquarium, which will be coming on, there's friends groups that have specific missions to help promote the education, the facility, and help with capital fundraising. And so what's unique about the relationship between the Friends of the Zoo and the county is essentially the Friends of the Zoo is in charge of all of our revenue generating responsibilities. Whereas, for example, at the Friends of Beaver Lake, the Friends of Beaver Lake do not share in any revenue generated there. And at the aquarium, the Friends of the Aquarium will not be generating any revenue there. So,
Well,
um,
so that I'm sorry to interrupt, but that begs the question: why? Why would an outside entity get the revenue from a county-owned facility? I don't understand that.
yeah, this is the way the deal was set up well before I was county executive, under county executive Nick Pirro, I believe. And it's a good partnership, Jim. It's a successful partnership. But anytime you have an MOU, your partners need to look at the arrangement and you need to look at how to balance the arrangement. And so I think we had a couple things happen here. First, and just to get this on the table for all your listeners, the aquarium is paid for. It's paid for. The reference to us asking for a donation for the aquarium was from last year, and the context was that initially the Friends of the Zoo requested to operate the aquarium through an RFP process. They were not selected because they didn't have experience operating aquariums. We then were working with the Friends of the Zoo to be our education partner. They're tremendous at education. As part of that, we asked them for a donation to help seed fund those efforts for $500,000. And we asked for a $500,000 donation for the Friends of the Zoo to name the educational space at the aquarium. Those were conversations that happened in 2025. They did not receive approval. We moved on. That didn't change the fact that we had an MOU that we had been negotiating before those conversations that needed to address a fair relationship financially with the Friends of the Zoo and the county. And so
Well,
that we
let me stop you. So you said you had discussions about renegotiating this before you asked for the donation.
correct. My deputy county executive,
Okay.
Mary Beth Primo, started these negotiations well before those conversations. Mary Beth left. Deputy County Executive Cindy Johnson has been the lead on these negotiations with the board president, Terry Hopkins, who's been fantastic to work with. She's fantastic. And so those have been the conversations that have been happening. And essentially, obviously, those are negotiations, right, between two partners. A strong partnership has give and take in that relationship. It's never a one-sided relationship. And we have an MOU that Jim, it's right here. I signed it. It's signed and it's ready to go. What I heard yesterday, I didn't get to see the um, the actual committee meeting, but my team was there. My team was active. I heard a lot about dialogue and the opportunity to clear the air. I agree. A lot of the back and forth, I didn't agree with. I vehemently disagree with, but we need to move forward. We've always had a great relationship. We got to have a good relationship. This MOU helps rebalance some of the financial relationship. And certainly, I put a call into Terry Hopkins this morning. I put a call into Andrew Brazil this morning, the interim executive director, saying, let's meet. My understanding is they may have an interest in signing the MOU now. Let's get this done.
Yeah, and I want people to understand that the Friends of the Zoo are really a main reason that the zoo is as excellent as it is, especially as a educational facility. So, and I know that you're aware of that. The Friends have been extremely important to the zoo. Wouldn't be the zoo that it is without them. But if things can need to be renegotiated, they need to be renegotiated in good faith and not in the public eye. Frankly, I don't know how this even got out. Well, I do know because the aquarium was involved. That's how it all got out. That's why anyone has mentioned any of this is because the aquarium was involved in this whole thing. Do you agree with
Yeah,
that or no?
I do. The Aquarian derangement syndrome needs to stop. It's funded. It's going to be open. People are going to love it and enjoy it. And if you don't, then you're gonna bark at me, right? But the reality is there was context to that. That just wasn't a random request. They wanted to operate it. Then we wanted them to be the education partner. Um, for both reasons, it didn't work out. That doesn't change the fact that financially, look, Jim, you know this, uh, we have to do a fair deal and a good deal. And when the nonprofit partner is making profits that are 3 to 5 times more than what they're paying the county, then you know that probably there's room to rebalance the financial relationship.
Yeah, and I think people don't understand too that they were seeded by the Rosamond Gifford Foundation, right? Which is a just a incredible foundation in Central New York, and so that they're a little bit different in that they can raise money simply off that donation and the interest that's built up over the years, and so they started out really as a healthy entity and have really grown from there. But so now it's time to renegotiate. That's your take on this, but I didn't realize you were renegotiating before the aquarium request came out. That kind of changes things for me.
Yeah, yeah, and there's different gyrations, right? Like this has been a long negotiation. To your point, one of the things that we're going to work with the Friends of the Zoo on is we're going to reinvest with a Savannah experience and bring giraffes to the zoo. I've negotiated a deal with the city of Syracuse to get 7 acres from the developmental center property, so we can look at expanding with our elephant, our world-class elephant
Yep.
exhibits there, and continue that program. And so that's going to cost money, right? But that's going to drive more visitors too,
Yep.
big time. And so it's fair that the county, who will front most of that, should share in the gains there as well. And so, and that's how we'll pay back the debt service and the bonds, right? And so that's kind of our job. And certainly, I wish this wasn't litigated in the media, but it doesn't change the fact that the Friends of the Zoo are excellent. The volunteers are excellent. We've had a great relationship, and we've done great things like the medical center, the elephant exhibits.
Yep.
Our work day to day with our team at the zoo with Dan Meets and his team, like that's going to continue. So it's time to. I heard dialogue yesterday was what I heard. I picked up the phone and called. I got the MOU signed. You know, hopefully we'll meet later today or later this week, and we can turn the page. But I think overall, you're right. Look, the ADS, the aquarium derangement syndrome, that politicians want to hold on to now, it's over. The money is that like we don't need donations for capital anymore. All the donations that the Aquarium
Mm.
Foundation is doing now are going for education and going to help subsidize visits by low income families.
Before you go, because I do have to ask you about this. What's the deal with the Film Hub money? Why wasn't the legislature, at least told that this was going to happen?
Yeah, so this was a publicly noticed meeting back in August of 2025. You recall my deal with the legislature, mind you, it's a different legislature now than it was last year, was
Right.
no new local tax dollars. That was the deal. Beg, borrow, scrap, find it, raise it. We don't care. We're not giving you any more local. So there was we announced a economic partnership with the film industry Visit Syracuse, all of the partners, all the movie producers, all on board, all think it's fantastic venue, gives them a competitive advantage to source movies here with an aquarium, which aquariums are used in movies and TV shows every week. And so we had that was very public. The meeting was noticed in public, and I did, I'm not going to out legislators, but some legislators, were aware. And so I think the mistake that was made when you Monday morning quarterback yourself is, could you have did a better job communicating in August of 25 about this? And Monday morning quarterback, sure, but the funds had to go to film-based initiatives from the soundstage. Those were not taxpayer funds. Those were funds from a proceeds of a real estate sale. To remind everybody, that soundstage corporation was gifted the Film Hub, which was not a piece of infrastructure that could work anymore. We sold it to Saab for essentially $6 million. The taxpayers did not have any skin in the game there. That $6 million was reinvested in a publicly noticed board meeting and then disclosed again on the financials. So it was disclosed twice publicly. And then the comptroller eventually found it and told the legislature, and they, here, that was like 2 weeks ago, right? Like that was
Right.
the news cycle 2 weeks ago. So the reality is this economic partnership can't happen at an aquarium without an aquarium. And so that helped fill the capital gap.
There it is. Thank you for answering that and for answering all the questions I had so far on this. And thanks for joining us on short notice. We appreciate you very much. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you.
That's Ryan McMahon, County Executive, and got a lot of questions answered that I wanted now.
A lot of questions.
Yeah,
He answers them.
Yes. Well, I also want people to understand something about the zoo. Okay, the zoo means a lot to me personally because my grandfather worked at the old zoo for a few years, and the old zoo, of course, was a disgrace. It was one of the worst zoos in the country. That's how bad it was. And at that time, we had one of the worst lakes in the country, too. So you had the most polluted lake and the worst zoo in the country. And my grandfather had worked there for a few years. So the zoo means a lot to me. I went backstage tours more than once. Ted Fox took me on a great tour with my kids, the elephant room and stuff. It's awesome.
I remember
It's
when
an
you went
awesome
to that
place.
stuff,
And I love it. I've always loved it and will always love it. So I have skin in the game in this because I'm behind the zoo all the way.
And one of your cleanups was right around.
Yeah, it was right around there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to our next guest because it is Marty Masterpool. That's a nice backdrop.
Look
I
at that.
need a backdrop like that.
I
I like that. All right, you can hear us okay and everything's good, right?
I can hear you. You can hear me.
All right, yes. So, this whole thing has come out. Now, I want to make something clear here, Marty. Are you here now as Marty, friend of the zoo, or as the county controller?
I think both.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to make sure because this has, repercussions sometimes politically, especially. So, and to me, politics it has a role in this. I don't know if, you agree, but I want to get your perspective then on this whole disagreement between the Friends and the zoo. I'll give you the same question I gave the county executive.
Sure. So, much like you, the zoo, I have a soft spot in my heart. I was born at 388 Coleridge Ave and now live at 344 Coleridge Ave. My entire life has been spent across the street from the Burnt Park Zoo, as well as my neighbor legislator, Chad Ryan. So, our heart, mind, neighborhood, all the above are in the game, so to speak. The biggest thing for me, and I know that it I believe came to your attention, is my concern was from a Facebook post that I expressed that the timing, the $1 million request, and I realize, and I'd love to address the soundstage question as well, but the timing of the request for the $1 million from the Friends of the Zoo, understandable ask. I got no issue with the ask. Through the enabling legislation and agreement with the Rosemont Gifford Foundation, the answer was no. And then coincidentally, after a 40-year partnership with the gift shop, all of a sudden we have to renegotiate and send out an RFP on the gift shop. The timing is incredibly suspicious. It seems like my take, personal take, not comptroller, not friend of the zoo, whatever it is, that is suspicious. That they didn't get their $1 million contribution, and now all of a sudden there's a need to negotiate an RFP to get shots.
All right. So to that point, the county executive says, and I'm not going to do a back and forth on this, but he claims that the negotiations had been going on before the ask.
I'm told from folks on the Friends board that there was an agreement in 2025, 5-year MOU agreement to move forward with the gift shop, all the above. Then from the committee meeting yesterday, they had many board members raise their hand when the question was asked, did you hear the commissioner say that whether they got the gift shop depended upon the other? And they all raise their hand. I mean, somebody is not being forthcoming.
Well, yeah, because that's stupid. If that's the case, then that's stupid to say in public, and should never have happened, obviously, and should never happen anyway. That shouldn't be held over somebody. But again, my position on this whole Friends of the Zoo thing would be, how much money are you making off the zoo and their efforts, right, to raise money, but from the proceeds of the zoo, and how much are you sharing with the county? That, I think every taxpayer should understand that, and every taxpayer should know what the formula is.
I would agree, and we have the financial statements. They're public. They're rolled into the Friends of the Zoo is considered a component unit of Onondaga County's financial statements every year, with a year lag because of the way the calendar works. But those financial statements are incorporated. But let's be clear: 100% of the Friends of the Zoo money goes to Onondaga County at the zoo, whether it's through staffing. They put money, well, there's exhibits bonded. The Friends of the Zoo have paid money,
right?
To bond that. They're paying for staff there that would otherwise, quite honestly, be Onondaga County staff. So it's 100% of the proceeds go to the zoo.
Really?
To the county. Yeah, there's nobody where else would it go? They're not making donations to other nonprofits. It goes to the zoo.
Okay. All right. I mean, as county comptroller, you would know that, right? Do you have authority over them at all? Can you audit them?
With cooperation, sure. I think
okay.
We back and forth on this regularly.
Right. Yeah. No.
But my opinion is yes, we do. But of course, we need the cooperation, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't.
Right. So again, everything that they make goes to the county.
Now let's be crystal clear. There are staff, including the executive director.
Well, you've got overhead. Sure. Right. You got overhead. Okay.
But it's overhead of people who are on site 100% of the time at the zoo. And I say on site 100% of the time until most recently, when this MOU wasn't worked out, they kicked them out of their office. I mean, the executive director of the zoo told the executive director of the Friends group, there's been a Friends office in the entranceway to the zoo in perpetuity until this most recent MOU. Once again, I say the timing of that is suspicious.
Well, yeah, that tit for tat stuff's got to stop. All this little tit for tat stuff has to stop. This is way too important. The zoo is way too important to the county. Yeah. This needs to get cleared up. I hope it does. I think you've articulated that side very well. I think the county executive articulated their side. I want the sides to get together and get this straightened out because, Micron's coming. Our capacity of people, the number of people is going to increase in this area soon by a lot. And so the zoo's important. So let's get this taken care of.
200,000 people through the doors a year. That's their annual report. So that's
I'm telling you.
Can I touch on the soundstage very quickly?
Yes.
It was referenced public meeting, all the above, the soundstage, all of which was great. 1 week prior to us finding it, and absolutely, maybe better late than never, I guess I will say, but and I don't know who those legislators are that were referenced that knew of this money into the Friends group from the soundstage. 1 week earlier, Legislator Erickson asked the board president of the Friends of the Aquarium how much public money is in the Friends Group. They reported 7.4 million taken in. He said 1.25 million, $1 million from the Civic Development Corporation and $250,000 from OSIDA, both of which were very public, reported in the media, all the above. And so Legislator Erickson said, and this is on the video, the March 17th Facilities Committee meeting. He said, so you're telling me the 7.4 minus the 1.25, everything else is private donations? And the answer to that was yes. So to pretend in any way, shape, or form this $5.7 million is a private donation is completely ridiculous. That is absolutely positively public funds. The public funds went in to build it. Then they sold it to Saab Corporation, and all of a sudden it becomes private funds. It's a ridiculous suggestion.
The county taxpayers built the film hub?
The state taxpayers did. And then the state taxpayers gave it to the soundstage, I believe. At one point, I think I said the county, but I believe that actually went to the soundstage. But no,
all right.
It was built by state tax dollars.
Right. Okay. All right, Marty, thank you for your time on short notice. I appreciate you.
Anytime. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Marty. So that's County Comptroller Marty Meswell. I don't want to get into a back and forth. I don't want to, he said, she said. I don't like that.
This is unlike our area.
Yeah,
we don't
is.
usually get into this stuff.
And so now let's explain why. Because it's political now.
Political. And I was going to say that you take one thing out of this and none of it's going to happen. It's politics.
It is, and it's going to get worse.
Yep.
Not this particular thing, not this argument, because I think this argument is about done. Okay. And it should be. But as we get closer to the midterms, boy, even locally, it's going to get bad. It is.
One thing, though, that we need more of is this, because everybody's
dialogue.
The dialogue gets out.
Yeah.
We don't have this anymore. We don't have locally.
You're right.
The platform of everybody just having, we let Ryan on. He did his thing. Marty, we're going to have Megan's going to possibly come on, and she's going to have that platform.
Explain who Megan is.
Oh, Megan is she's on the board for
Friends,
and she's a local attorney here.
And we want to make it clear, Bill and I, we love the zoo and we love the Friends. So we're just trying to get them together.
And to me, if you ask me, the aquarium should be a leg of the zoo because of what it accomplishes.
Yes, but Friends should not run it.
No. But there should be some sort of a
should be a partnership.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Absolutely. I'm sure. I think they'll work it out. And again, this whole, I love that he said it's the aquarium derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
But it's true. It was like the amphitheater derangement syndrome and destiny derangement syndrome and anything new we're building in this area derangement syndrome. So you got to get past that and get past those idiots. And now let's just get together and get this together and let's stop the politics. This is way too important. This is the zoo and we need a healthy zoo. So stop it. All right.
And we'll be back Monday.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, before we leave.
Yes.
My friends at Sharky's got a great show coming in.
I can't believe they're bringing in Nelson.
Yeah. There it goes.
And of course,
I got the record. The Nelson boys are coming to Syracuse this Saturday night.
Yes, they are.
The event center. Go to Sharky's Tix.com.
And hopefully on Monday's show, you'll have that autograph.
Signed that. That was my payment for telling about the show. I want my record signed.
Yeah, and tell Gunnar he owes me $50, would you? All right, that'll do it for us today on the special edition of the Jim Reith Show. See, we want to do this, Bill and I, when it warrants it, and today it warranted it. Bill was on it, yesterday saying we got to do this, and so
it's a story that interested me because there's so many moving parts.
Absolutely, to it. and we know all the moving parts, and we like all the moving parts. So let's get it together. That was great. I'm glad those two came on, and we'll continue this discussion. So take care of yourselves, okay? And God willing, we're all back at it next time on the Jim Reith Show Unleashed podcast.